One of the most common stages of grief that most of us know about is denial. But what a lot of people don't talk about is the stage of grief where you're in denial that you're actually still grieving. So it stops being denial about the loss of the loved one because you seem to completely comprehend and accept and make space for the new while grieving the old. But what a lot of people stop realizing or stop grieving is the fact that they're still grieving. And life continues to move forward, and yet some parts of them, the part that's still grieving, is still in deep despair, sorrow, sadness, can't concentrate, has lethargy, doesn't want to socialize, doesn't want to do things, has lost interest in things that they used to find pleasurable and enjoyable. And it starts to look and feel a lot like depression. But what sometimes is going on is that person is still grieving the old and not fully accepting the new. Even if everything around them is beautiful and lovely and life is good, there's still a part of them, that missing link, that puzzle piece. That part is such a powerful or potent part of them that they're still not letting go fully. And so that part is controlling the other parts that has now created a beautiful life. With divorce, a lot of the times you might still be grieving parts of you that had a life with an ex, even though you don't want the ex back. And it's not about them, and it's not about missing being married to them or missing being in a relationship to them. It's about missing the you that existed in relationship to them. And that is the grief of the old self, and that's sometimes part and parcel to the death and rebirth process, and also the disillusionment process that goes in many stages. And one big catalyst to ego death or spiritual death and spiritual rebirth is sometimes divorce or death of a loved one. And it just so happens that divorce feels like the death of a loved one. At the same time, it feels like the death of you. And in a lot of senses, it is the death of you. It's the death of the you that was in that context, that existed in that timeline. So you do die from that perspective. But coming back, reborn and renewed, means finding a way to love the you that exists in this timeline without that person anymore. Finding a way to make this life more beautiful and more meaningful than everything that was so much more familiar all those years before. Especially if that person was a big integral part of your life in your formidable years, or for so many years that you almost existed with them longer than you existed without them. So, long story short, the grief that goes dormant, the grief that is no longer called grief, can feel a lot like depression, but really what you're grieving is the you that existed in relationship to the individual